I know, it's one of my favorite tiers, so I had a bunch of choices. I just grabbed one.
J-Dubs LOL, thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole of Steve Online. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. How are you?
Oh, hey, it's Fozzie.
Warping to Stargate.
It has been a while since we've gotten to chat, my friend.
Yes, it has.
It always feels like too long. It's been pretty incredible, man. Like this game's come a long way since 2015. There's been a lot to pay attention to and a lot to do. Speaking of which, though, I gotta say, J-Dub LOL with his Twitch Prime subscription. Thank you so much. You get all of the corporations involved in the current precursor crisis. And thank you for your support. Let's celebrate by showing us your clades. Yeah, it's been so exciting this last year because like the content that you guys are doing, like I feel like the tools that you worked on for so long are now starting to really see fruition. At the same time, I have a lot of time to pay extra attention to all of it. So good timing.
Yeah, glad the timing worked out.
But you've kind of faded a little bit into the background in recent years, I've noticed. Is that
Warping to Stargate.
Is that intentional?
I'm not spending as much time at the at the forefront, going on streams and such quite as often. Yeah, I think taking a bit of a break from that. I'm still doing it, of course, just a little bit less often.
I mean, being the scapegoat is only so exciting for so long, right? I'm kidding. No, well, it's good to see, it's good to hear you doing well, and I look forward to talking a little bit about what you've been up to, if possible.
Yeah, I think we can definitely do that. I'm not sure how. Yeah, I think probably a lot of people in the stream would probably know. I'm primarily working on live events nowadays. So the Hunt is the most recent thing that released a TQ that I worked on, and got some more stuff coming over the next couple of months.
Nice. Well, that's really cool. Yeah. I really like this new iteration of events. You know, like let's say post Howling Interceptors, when you really start to see like, so last year's Valentine's Day event, what's it called? What was it called? The Great Guardians Gala was like the last formal agency event, and Dragonar Blitz was the first like in the modern incarnation of what events are going to look like. Is that true?
So the events, what we're doing with events is always changing a lot. So it's maybe hard to say exactly if this is reflective of what events are going to look like in the future, because we're always trying new things out. And I expect we're going to be pulling in some things that you've seen in the past, like the agency reward tracks and stuff like that, and playing around with them a bit more in the future. But yeah, the Dragonar Blitz in January was the first event that the team that I'm currently on released after we formed. We formed right at the end of last year.
Can you give a shout out to the other people on that team?
Yeah, so if you guys are, for anyone who hangs out on Eve streams, you'll probably be very familiar with CCP Signal, who is the engineer on our team and is very, very active in all kinds of stream chats. He loves to hang out and watch. We've also got, what is Ev's dev name? We don't call people by their dev names at work, so
definitely gets pretty confusing sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely does. So it's Ev and Ed are the other two guys on the team, but I don't know their dev name. I can't remember their dev names off the top of my head right now.
Sledgehammer?
Is Ev?
No, it's
nope. Okay.
Lift something?
You work with
Deadlift? Yes. Deadlift, yes.
I was gonna let you get there for a minute.
I was gonna say double lift, but I was mixing them up with it.
By the way,
League of Legends.
exclamation point CCP for your chance to win this Hecate skin. We'll do the giveaway right before we head out.
But yeah, we're a pretty small team. We had CCP Bedek for a little bit as well. He's currently on loan to another team, and I think we're gonna get it back now. But yeah, we're very focused on the kind of temporary live content. So we get to do a lot of experimental stuff. Some of the things we've been doing with like the PvP skilling spree and the live events we've released over the past few months have been the stuff that we've been working on.
So let me ask
So
you
would
this.
you say that some of this is like a trial run for future large scale?
Yeah, I think some of it definitely can be. Some of it will be things, if things work out well, we'll reuse them for more future seasonal content. But also, yeah, there's going to be plenty of stuff that we work on that can then be pulled into permanent content as well, I think. The nice thing about releasing stuff like this with a few weeks of time frame is that you get to experiment with things and try stuff out, and if it works out really well then you bring it back. If it doesn't work out as well, then people don't have too much time to get sick of it.
Yeah, I guess that was one of my questions, which is that should we expect... So one of the things I found really interesting about this event in particular is that it was stated to be the now annual hunt, which so far events have kind of, prior to this iteration, previous events kind of avoided the idea of really being tied 100% into the seasonal nature of things. I think that over time that's been adopted, but now this is, I feel, the first time that something is said like, yes, this is going to be an annual thing. Was that an intentional shift? And also, does that mean that the things that we are getting now and the mechanics that we're seeing now, like for instance pod dropping implants, the Valdemar implants themselves, the way that the sites are arranged, or the fact that it's themed in Galente, or sorry, in Caldari, Lowsec, and Nullsec, or Garistas NPC space, like, is that these themes or rules that we should expect to return next year?
So the mentioning it as annual, I don't think there was necessarily that much thought put into it. The hunt had been an event that we've run a couple of years. I think the last year we didn't have one, but the couple of years before that we did. So it's been pretty close to annual already. And I definitely hope we'll keep running these things on an annual basis. As for what we'll see pattern-wise in the future, what we're going to want to do is pull in the stuff that worked really well when it comes to, like, we'll be looking at all the feedback, all the player data about how things like the pods dropping implants went, and we may bring that back if we're happy with the results and if the player base is happy with the results. Some other things like the specific details of where the event is, that we may shift around to keep it from getting too stale, but we'll also probably, I think it'll be pretty universal that the hunt will be in some way Garistas themed, and the Guardian's Gala will be in some way Serpentis/Angel themed, and so on and so forth. We're going to keep doing a Crimson Harvest event that has a connection to the Blood Raiders. The form of that connection may change from year to year.
Yeah, notably this last year we didn't have a Crimson Harvest event, which is the first time we haven't had a Crimson Harvest event since the Crimson Harvest event, which a lot of people see as the first instance of the previous iteration of event sites.
Yeah, so that had been one of the longer running events, and that's the fact that we didn't have one last year is why I'm a little bit hesitant to, like, promise that we're going to always have.
That's fair.
What the honest truth about what happened last year is we had a team that was working on some of these temporary events, and they worked on the Triglavian Invasion instead during that time period. So they made some really great stuff with the Triglavian Invasion, but that took the developers that would have normally been working on temporary seasonal events. And so with our current layout of the teams at CCP, we now have both a team working on some of this more complex, slower burn content like the Dragonblavian Invasion, and then we also have a smaller team that I'm working on that is able to produce this like faster, more iterative seasonal content.
Thank you very much. Okay, Cougar, the Fabadon showing up. That's very kind of you.
If I may ask a question about itemization.
Sure.
And obviously, you know, we're all prepared for I can't or won't tell you that, but I found that unless I ask, there's never an answer. So there are some items that we have seen historically that have shown up maybe once, maybe twice. Specifically the things that have shown up once. I'm interested to know if there is any plan in your mind, and again, not promises, just this is something that you would consider or like to do to make sure that there specifically aren't functional items in the game that never reappear. So we're talking the Clavicula Analyzer and the Polybolos Ballistic Control and the C3As and the C3Xs, which you've now dropped again, the Geckos, which you've now given us again. I'm thinking the Yellow Jacket and the Bumblebee, the Hawk Moth and the Goliath, these sorts of things. Should we abandon all hope, or is there hope to see some of those one-time things ever again?
There's definitely hope. I can't promise for any individual ones which ones might come back. We're sort of approaching it on a case-by-case basis, taking a look at how they've been used, at the feedback around them, and how they fit into the ongoing plans that the EVE development team has for game balance. And in some cases, like in the case of the C3 implants and the or C3, yeah. And the Gecko, stuff like that. The the C3 modules C3 and the Geckos. Yeah. They fit in relatively small numbers. You'll notice we've given out a bit less of them in this round than we did in the initial round, or they've at least been a bit less likely to drop from each individual site. In a lot of cases, some of these will come back. In other cases, they might not. And in some cases, and we'll continue to be introducing new things as well as we go. So there'll be kind of a mix and match. But I definitely wouldn't want to rule any of it out. I'd say there's always hope.
That's exciting to hear. I particularly like certain specific items that are really, really niche and just fit a puzzle perfectly. Like the Polybolos BCS fits certain situations just right. The Clavicula Analyzer provides a really great alternative to a Zeugma. The Yellow Jacket implant is pretty much the only way in the game to give a drone directly more damage other than DDAs. These are very interesting items, and I would love to see them again.
Yeah, I think you're going to see, in some cases, some of them coming back in the same form. In other cases, maybe other things that meet similar goals. Like we decided for this particular event with the hunt to introduce some new drone implants and make them a little bit different than the ones that we already introduced. But that doesn't mean that we won't have any chance of bringing back the old ones as well in the future.
I actually meant to ask a specific question. Yeah, I know where you're going. Why don't you do that?
Which is that, so the previous two events, we've kind of had this pattern, right? Where last year, you specifically mentioned that that there's going to be a new set of pirate implants. And while kind of famously that roadmap got disrupted by no fault of your own, it would appear, at least, that this latest set of events have also functioned as an excuse to introduce those implants one by one into the game. First with Nirvanas, then with Saviors, and now with Hydras, right? Yep. And in the previous two cases, they then turn around and show up on the LP store. And I can only imagine that the Hydras will probably do something similar. That being said, the Valdemar implant specifically seems to be related to a tribute to the whole like worm in the
fish tank
situation.
Yeah. I would like to know what I was the first one that called that.
my question is, is Fonsui the first one to have noticed that connection? But B, is should we interpret the Valdemar implants to be tied to the Garistas event, tied to this one moment in time because of that interesting event that happened to CCP, or is this something that just might show up at other like almost like a praxis sort of situation where it's like, this is something that we're going to kind of drop whenever we feel like it? Is this intended to be part of the Garistas package?
It is not necessarily going to come in into the LP stores in the same way, although we're not going to. I wouldn't say we'll rule out permanent distribution. I think it's safe to say that the new sets of pirate implant sets that we're introducing, the ones that we announced, like you mentioned years ago, and have been kind of slowly working on, those are you're gonna see a similar pattern with those, where they come into a permanent distribution a little while after getting an exclusive release with the events. The Valdemar implants, those we're going to be experimenting with some other things for them. So I can't promise exactly how they're going to return to the game, but as long as they are received well, and as long as we kind of conclude after looking at how they're used that they make a good addition to game balance, then I would hope to bring them back in the future.
Very cool. So I believe that you are the one that is not in the fleet and ready to go right now. And I think that we could probably have a scout or 2 or 3 if somebody is interested and wants to X up an Empyrean fleet. Oh boy. There we go.
I'm just getting myself over now.
Nice.
I am I'm invisible in local, I think, but I am in local with you guys.
Well, I gave Aurora squad command, so she can also just invite you directly if need be.
I was trepidatious enough to scout when you were looking over my shoulder. Now it would be you and all of the CCP.
Well, dying in a ball of fire is the expectation, so
we're gonna definitely whelp anyway. Don't worry.
Yeah, you can only go up from expectation. If you fail miserably, we jump straight in and immediately die, then it'll just be like, nothing else we could have expected.
Sid wants to skip.
Do you have any keys on you, or are we attempting?
I have 12 keys on me. Actually, last night while I was doing my podcast, I ran around and grabbed as many extra keys as I could in my Dramiel to be ready for this.
Oh, okay.
All right. We can destinations linked in fleet. Just go ahead and best speed there, and then when we get on the gate, we can.
Picked up Sid?
Nope. I got.
He X'd up for you.
I got you. I'm also not. I've turned off my notification sounds so as to not create constant disturbance, but I do appreciate all of it. Oh, we also need to give away the skin before we leave while I'm getting ready to warp. By the way, aligning to warp while using a 100 MN afterburner, it makes it take a while. In case you didn't notice. So one last chance, exclamation point CCP for your chance to win the Hecate Neon skin. And in a couple jumps, we will go ahead and give that away. It's a code, so I don't have to worry about contracting anything. It's super cool. We have a total of, I think, 3 to give away today.
I've entered the contest. That's all right. That's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, no, yeah,
And
totally.
If you somehow manage to give them all out and we still have time, I can always.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you know, a lot of streamers, they'll enter the contest, and if they win, that means that they just have to sweeten the pot themselves.
By all means.
Yeah, Insidious, I'm going with what effectively is your design for Draugr.
Also, hello everyone watching on the stream.
Oh shoot! Speaking of which,
Well,
I
that's
just
easy to
realized how
tell it.
ruined this is. I didn't grab
Yeah,
any
how could
nanite
you not?
paste along with everything else.
How could you not
I can drop you some.
picked?
I came in late.
I got you. Or I got it. There's some right here, next door.
Oh wait, I can't drop you some.
I don't want anybody to accuse me of taking like magic
Yeah.
stuff from CCP.
That took a minute. That took a minute. Oh yeah, better not do that.
So while we're traveling, I've got a question for some of you players in the chat. The last couple, or some of the events we've released this year, including this one, have had these pretty restrictive ship restrictions on entry. And so this one with the frigates and destroyers, the like heavy missile bonus ships for the Dragonar Blitz. Our goal with it had been to try to create some interesting variety in the same kind of way you get with FW sites, where you can maybe fly some ships you might not normally fly, tryouts in different tactics. How have you guys enjoyed it so far? Has it been something you found too restrictive, something you've been happy with so far? What do you think?
I'll let Chan answer first before I give my thoughts on that.
I've commented on this before specifically. I think it's really, really good myself. Mostly because it allows me, like, it's restricting to you, but that means that you need a specific key in order to get in. And by that I don't mean like an item, but I mean like you need to be the correct, when you find the site, you need to be in the correct thing to be able to do that site. But that also means that anyone who wants to come after you also has to be prepared to deal with it. So it's not just you have to deal with any given BS, you have to deal with BS that's only also designed to deal with the site. And that allows tactical decision making to go into the site running process and site selection process in a way that makes it where, like, if it's just open to anybody, it's like, well, I guess there's just curses in all of them, so we're done now. You know, once you start opening up past Cruiser and beyond, you start getting into so many crazy tricks that you have to be ready for, that it becomes like an ISK. It becomes more of an ISK issue than a tactics issue. Okay, so I'm gonna. Do we have any eyes in there? Probably not. I'll get eyes in there. Fuck it.
So not only, as Ash said, does it limit the engagement profile, which, by the way, you guys are taking advantage of today. The fits that you are wearing were designed specifically to be able to slide into these sites and live inside them, you know, clownfish style.
Go ahead
So the only people that are going to come in after you.
Jump in, Yvonne.
So the only people that are going to come in after you are going to have a profile of ships that you are built to fight. So that, I think that's really awesome. But on top of that, it also, as you said, it highlights specific groups of ships that may or may not otherwise be used. It's like, now we want to show you these ones. Now we want you to fly those ones. And instead of players doubling down on, this is my favorite ship and I make it do everything, which is sometimes great, it will kind of force players to try out something that they may not have before, that they may end up finding really fun.
Right.
So you think it helps to kind of generate some conflicts that you wouldn't otherwise see with these restrictions?
Yeah, it pushes people out of their comfort zone in terms of ship choice, and it also allows you to very define the engagement more so than there may be people or there will be people.
All right, Aurora. I don't know where everybody else is at the moment, but I'm going to dock up real quick and grab this paste.
Okay,
You
no
can
problem.
you can help scout in everybody else into Yvonne.
Scouting.
There's one neutral in here, so
Yeah, it's
he's
not
probably looking at us funny, but
it's not spooky yet. And there's also some capsules, including one that's near the station. Looks like it might be on the planet.
That's another question for you guys. How have you been enjoying the de-scanning and probing?
The only concern that I have is that the act of descanning and getting moons I am concerned that it is a test of skill as opposed to a training of skill, and so it's causing a lot of people to become frustrated instead of capable. It being able to be on like major celestials that normally show up on the overview, like planets and not moons, might have been the difference. But at the same time, it also rewards people looking deeper into it and actually mastering D-Scan to a higher level. The thing that I like the most about it actually is the fact that it's a subtle pointer to the Rasnaborg, which are also something that kind of was introduced to reward D-Scan practice.
So we discussed this yesterday, you and I, and you said that you don't feel that it provides a learnable moment, but I countered that it provides a teachable moment. When you do this in a group and you have an experienced player in the group and you have other people with you, then this gives you a perfect opportunity to put on display and exemplify these particular skills and how useful they are, and teach it to them in that context.
Right. And now my camera's being weird.
The best way to scout local is to engage the neutrals in polite conversation.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you can do is get them to expose stuff about themselves. Mimitar Caldari Pirate Faction. Oh man, I wasn't going to just make this episode all about like pitching things to CCP Fozzie, but I've talked about this a few times, so I'm kind of, if you could indulge me. A lot of people bring up the idea of the pirate faction for Mimitar Caldari, and so my pitch for you is the Thucker tribe become their own pirate faction. They are focused on Caldari for missiles and jam strength, and focus on Mimitar for speed and webbing, and just speed, whatever. But the idea is that the Thucker tribe's cheat is that they get the old school ECM, just like the Blood Raiders get old school newts or Nosses. There you go.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I think the Thucker tribe's definitely one of the candidates that keeps coming up whenever we discuss adding a Caldari Mimitar pirate faction, which I would love to do someday. I'm not sure what form it would take exactly. I'm always a little bit hesitant to like bring back old school ECM or buff ECM too much in its current form. There's still it's obviously a lot better now, but there's still some gameplay issues with trying to make it fun and not frustrating that potentially cause a problem with leaning too much on it. It's one thing to have the existing ships working with it in the Caldari line, but a new pirate faction I might be a little bit hesitant, I'd say.
That makes sense. Yeah, I was just thinking like that's why I was a limited, like having only these 3 ships have that capability might add some texture to it. But are you in Yvonne? Keeping track of you is very difficult at this point, Fuzzy. But I think that we are wanting to move up into Black Rise, right?
Wherever we can find the hunt sites.
Yeah.
That is entirely.
Yeah. So they only show up in Caldari High Sec, Low Sec. And right now we are in Essence, which is Galente. So we need to head up a few more jumps up to, we're going to head to, OPSEC. We're going to head to Nisua first as our kind of entry point and start looking for Huntmaster sites there.
All I have to say about ECM is talk to anyone who has ever flown our invasion fleet as Hull Scorpion. They refuse to fly anything else.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun recently when it comes to using control in our invasion fleets. It's a really fun mechanic. Oh, it's Convict. All right, let's go ahead and just head on out to the next gate. I'll warp the fleet.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely got a soft spot for ECM, but what you personally enjoy isn't always optimal game design. I say that laughing because I know the kind of things I used to get up to with ECM. I was one of those folks back before the ECM range nerf. They used to sit off of low set gates, especially the main Tama gate outside of gate gun range in a cloaked falcon.
So which one of you guys want to be the scout?
Oh, God.
Are you gonna make me read the chameleon description?
I did write that, yes.
Is it clear?
It's
Oh
mostly
boy,
clear.
it's starting to get a lot uglier
There's a
here.
FNB comment on the game.
RVB's showing up.
We should probably get moving because Insidious, I think, has sprung a trap. Go ahead and jump through.
Can't take that guy anywhere.
That's true. We're going to do a little bit of a detour.
No trap. I will kill RVB. That's the RVB way.
We're going to head to Old Man Star real quick. So I must confess, I conspired a little bit with CCP Aurora about this as soon as I heard that you were going to be part of the fleet, Fozzie.
There's no conspiracy.
You know, you and I go way back, as I mentioned at the beginning, and for years we've talked about a very specific thing that we both have in our heart, and every opportunity that we have to talk, I bring it up, but this time I get to actually physically bring you to it. So, jump OMS.
Yes,
So, one of our favorite stories in EVE is the story of the OMS gate. And in the OMS gate, it talks about how it was created by this old dude who basically their systems went bad. Jump OMS, man. Well, I mean, he wasn't old the whole time, but like by the time the story ended, he'd lived his entire life to build this Stargate back to Valor. And so, unlike all of the other Stargates, this Stargate was cobbled together by this guy using drones and MacGyver-style tactics. And so, years ago, I suggested to CCP Fozzie that Valor needs its own unique model Stargate to reflect this. And you said it was really exciting, and you've given me several updates about the art team and whatnot, and I continue to think that this is a great idea.
Yep, and honestly, so do I. And again, I absolutely can't promise anything.
Sure.
The state, and I've said this before publicly, the state that it's gotten to is that at one point, one of our concept artists put together just a quick concept for it. And it has never been approved to go further than that, but we do have some pretty cool concept art. It was like a collection of asteroids that have been kind of towed together to form this gate that is formed in between them. And it was a very cool bit of concept art. I would love for us to get into the game someday.
Yep, we're gonna just keep casually bringing it up because that's how things get done.
I don't think I can say what it is. What I can say, so that round, the concept art for that gate was created during a push when one of our concept artists had a bit of time, and we got a bunch of the devs together and brainstormed some ideas for different landmarks around New Eden that would be great to get an extra like visual uniqueness to.
Go ahead and jump back into Hades, by the way.
Okay.
There's definitely a lot of neutral.
Yep.
Even when this
but these are all
does
RBB,
happen.
which is part of Insidious, so we'll have to see what they're here for. It's hard to tell. So we better keep moving. We better start moving fast so that way we can get to the actual sites.
You gotta write the description.
So everybody should be in Hades, and let's go ahead and align a boon. Align a boon. See whether or not this comet wants to actually fight, because it doesn't. It'd be weird to engage with a frigate, since I don't think any of us are pirates.
All right, now we're back in warp. I'm pretty excited about the fact that one of the landmarks that came up in that brainstorming discussion all those years ago, it's a different design that ended up making it in, but there has now been actual progress in making that landmark. It's not the OMS gate, unfortunately, but there has been some cool progress in making a unique visual flair for a very lore focused object in Eve that you'll see in the moderate future, I think.
I know that there's been a lot of work put into the Capsuleer Memorial, which is really awesome, and it looks like it's getting closer and closer to being ready to go.
Yes, that is coming very close, I think.
All right, go ahead and jump in. Jump a boon. There's a rogue that is piratey, but it doesn't look like it's on the Stargate. Go ahead and just, we're going to just, oh, there he is.
Oh, he's coming into.
Well, in that case, we're out. I really like being in agile ships. It makes things a lot easier most of the time.
And then you put a 10mm on.
And then I mean, it's a different kind of agile. Go ahead and jump.
It's agile in a very straight line, sort of.
It can turn fast and it can go fast. It just can't do both at the same time. That's all. So we are now in Huntmaster site territory. And we're going to head at Niswa. I figured it out. Fozzie, you're still not showing up in local.
Yes.
That's what's confused. That's what keeps. It's fine. I figured it. You know, now that I realize it, I keep waiting for you to show up.
Window either.
No, he shows up. He doesn't show up in the fleet window. Oh boy.
He doesn't show up in the fleet chat, but he does show up on watch list. So just add him to watch list, and you'll know if he's on grid.
I had no idea
that
that role made you not show up in the fleet window. I see myself.
I'm in a conversation with you. I can't see you in that.
No, I can see you in the fleet window.
Here.
No, I mean in fleet chat. I can see him in the fleet window.
Yeah, you're not in the chat.
Yeah. I'll be invisible in all chat. Yeah.
That's fine.
XMPP invisible.
Jumping Niswa. There's an unopened Huntmaster.
You're right next door to Notoras, the shining jewel of Black Rise.
We'll have to take a detour.
Well, sure.
Yeah, can we? After the site, can we?
No, let's look in that site first. Let's look in their first site first.
Let's go for it. I mean, if we get into a fight in Notorious, we might actually wind up on Notorious.
Oh yeah, might make it to the Notorious News.
That's a fair point. Well, let's just jump on in then. Oh boy. I'm gonna pick your first rename. There's a Huntmaster here at 7.9, which is open, which means there's a retribution in it. Let's go kill something. We're going to activate the gate on contact.
So folks, if you enjoy the ships you're flying in, I built them. If you don't enjoy them, DTM built.
That's true.
This is a good fit. It's a fantastic. Thank you.
Did they go? They can't. He left in between the waves. Oh well. Well, we can just finish it up for him, I guess.
I'm kidding though. In all seriousness, I could not have put these together as well as I did without DTM's direct assistance. So I want to thank him.
Side effect of the void buff is I don't actually want to switch ammo anymore.
Yeah. Thankfully, I never use a Colt anyway, so. Not on this, not on the small ships at least. On the Iki Tursa and the Draugr, hell yeah, a Colt. So I was thinking, since I have the keys, I can just go inside and like blitz down the boss really quick.
Yeah.
I got a. Can I come with? I got a key. I found an egg while we were hanging back there before. It was on a Poco and Planet Fire.
Nice. Yeah, I'm certainly not going to tell you not to.
I brought spare keys also.
It is interesting. One of the things that kind of is unfortunate about this site is that it seems like it may be intentional. The site unlocks to allow you to use the key right as another wave is landing. And so if you do that wrong, what can end up happening is you consume the key, get scrammed, and then you just don't have the key.
Yeah, that can happen. It's a little bit random. The size of the waves is somewhat randomized within a range, and it triggers the gate opening as you've killed a certain number of point value worth of it.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting. As opposed to the old system, which was literally just like waves and triggers. This is closer to like how the Flashpoint site works then.
Yes, in fact, it's using the same type of system for spawning the NPCs and controlling when to bring new ones in. It doesn't do any. It doesn't have quite as much complexity as those, but it's the same underlying.
One of the things I don't think that people have truly digested yet is that all of this invasion content means that we have rats that behave and far more like players do, not just in tactics, but just like mechanics. As we were mentioning earlier, using control on rats. Like, how many times people have said, "Wait, you can newt them?" Yeah, you can. You can newt them. Yeah, I'm gonna head towards it.
Annoyingly so.
But what's cool about this is that once you guys are done with this process of making these guys like work, once you have the Garistus rats built in, and the Caldari, each one of these stages are allowing you to create that race's set of ships, which then can be used as puzzle pieces for all these different events. And I think that the fact that these rats cooperate and behave much like players as opposed to more classic rats is probably the biggest advantage or biggest value out of a lot of these sites, and a lot of people don't realize that it's true yet, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think that we properly understand. Sure. I don't think that we properly appreciate how cool this new AI system that has been deployed with Invasions is yet.
And that too is building off of the previous AI system. So it's the same core AI that was used for the mining operations and the shipyards and FOBs. It's for resource wars as well. Mm-hmm. So it's been an iterative process, but every time we do something new with it, we're generally using some of the tech that came before, but also building up some new tech as well, and then we always have that available for the future.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm notably, like, this has not only been better decision making process and smarter AI, but it seems like a lot of work has been built in to retrofit the rat's logic to be allowed to be neuted and webbed and or not webbed, but like scrammed and tracking disrupted and all those kinds of things. And I think that it's highly effective. I'm heading back to Nissawa, by the way.
Is there a possibility in the future to see? So right now, a player gets damped or TD'd. The player's going to come in closer. They know that they're tracking. They're going to modify their flying to make up for the tracking disruption. They're going to modify their range to make up for the range, hit on the weapons. Rats don't do that. Is that a possible future? Because I know that that's not something that they do now.
Yeah, that kind of functionality is something we would like to get into the NPC AI. One of the challenges is that a human, when they get tracked, disrupted, or damped, will make a choice of whether to move in close or not, and that might be a good choice. It might be a bad choice, but generally humans going to be decent at least at making the trade-offs involved there, and getting the AI to make those trade-offs decisions is going to be a little bit of a challenge. So, for instance, making
I'm
sure
warping
that
us to the Huntmaster site. It's 31 and it's open.
making sure that you that if you damp an NPC and it moves in close, that it doesn't get underneath its own tracking and be unable to hit you, for instance.
Yeah, it's definitely a layer of complexity higher. I've noticed this most recently. So normally this works to our benefit. You know, we go into a dark abyss site. All the rats have penalized turrets. They don't even try. They just shoot at their normal range. Nothing hits me. You know, life is great. Don't got a tank. Free tank. However, by the same token, my drones are just as dumb, and they get really stupid, and I have to fix it with Hydras. By the way, thank you for Hydras. The original Hydra stats as posted for drone HP were like, I'm like, I don't really care. Then I saw the new stats, and I got extremely excited extremely quickly, and now Dark Side Heal is the thing.
Yeah, a lot of the feedback we got from the original version of the Hydras was that they were just kind of uninteresting. They were potentially useful, but it was just not really exciting enough to be worth a pirate implant set. And so then we went back to the drawing board, chatted with the CSM a bit about it at the summit, and ended up coming up with the version that's in the game now.
I think.
Speaking of, those minutes just went live.
Oh, cool.
I'll have to check those out. But I think
double comments on 5.
Yeah, with the new Hydra stats, like those mechanics are fantastic. Thank you for that.
It's
we might
tricky.
want to pull range off the slide in.
I mean, nothing so far looks like something that we don't want to just brawl
you
out.
You have to be at 0.
Well, we want to catch them.
I have to be at 0.
Yeah, we're all up close fighters, so we're trying to rely on the fact that they have to come into our beacon.
Yeah, I'm in a vengeance. I'm happy to be at 0.
Yeah, I think that drones have always been pretty tricky because they simultaneously are very versatile and therefore very strong, and so you don't want to make them like even stronger, but at the same time they're very clunky, and you know, you want to work with them in the same way that you work with any other weapon system. So I'm sure that creating like it poses a particular challenge to address drones like all the time, because you know, like drones technically get balanced by having a clunky UI. So it's like, can you fix the UI without making them feel stronger than they should be? Do you need to nerf drones if you're going to make them more functional? It's
it's always been a challenge to find the right balance point with drones. We sort of bounced around a bit with a couple of couple of versions of buffs and nerfs over the years. But it's definitely, they are a pretty unique challenge. They're also destroyable, which is something that's not as nearly as big of a deal with other weapon systems, kind of with missiles, but not even really not nearly to the same degree. And they have that ability of auto-aggressing, which is a big deal for PvE.
Right, yeah.
I do have this concept that I've thought of regarding drones that I would appreciate your thoughts on. And I want to stress that when I toss out these kind of things, I'm not like saying please put this feature in or whatever. I'm like literally throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Maybe I can inspire something in you. Who knows? From what I understand, at least one of the reasons why drone damage amplifier mutaplasmas don't exist is because they have only one effective stat to roll. They have the fitting, and then they have the one, drone damage. So there's no 2 stats. It's not like the other damage mods, which have a rate of fire and damage, and you can roll green and red at the same time. So that's not quote-unquote fun. And that makes sense. It wouldn't be balanced or fun or whatever. There's also the question of drone power. So I have thought of something that might be able to balance that out. Adds more stats and more flexibility, and also balances the power a little bit by being able to roll mutoplasmids on drones themselves. Makes them destructible. It gives you a lot more numbers to work with, potentially even making different mutoplasmids, things of that sort. Does that sound completely crazy, or like something that you might be able to use in some way?
Grendel's the hero of the hour. Before you answer that, I'm going to let you chew on that idea for just a second, but I am going to do the first drawings giveaway. Oh boy. Torinar, you are the winner. Thank you so much. Congratulations. If you're still here, go ahead and say something and you will get the skin, and then we'll put up the next giveaway.
We also know who he is.
It's true.
Sorry, I caught some of the explanation of what you were aiming to do, but I missed the actual change you were suggesting.
So,
Mutoplasmids for drones.
Oh, mutoplasmids for the drones themselves.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
It makes them destructible, which sort of balances the power. You know, the value can be destroyed, and at the same time gives you a lot more stats to play with instead of just drone damage.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing we definitely could do at some point in the future. We would, yeah, that seems like it would be a reasonable avenue to explore at least.
It also gives you the ability to make different drone mutoplasmids that do different things.
One of the things that I thought about, if there was going to be like a Mutoplasmid 2.0 rebalance, is, as part of the drone idea too, is allow the player a one-time rename for the module. So that way you can name your drones finally. Because I know that's a big thing for people.
Yeah, we've looked into just allowing you to rename drones, same way you can rename your ship in the past, and we ran into it. It wasn't, I think, a giant technical issue, but it was enough that it made it no longer a little thing, and that kind of bumped it out of our scope at the time.
Right.
It's definitely something we've looked at in the past, and I think it would be a pretty cool thing to be able to do, especially if we tied it to something that provided you more investment in the drone, like maybe tied it to the mutoplasmid. So that's something you get from mutating your drone, as it becomes a nameable drone that you might use for a long period of time.
Yeah, it reminds me of like enchanting in other video games, like Elder Scrolls series or something like that, where when you go through the process of customizing it, you also get a one chance to rename it, because that's how, you know, magical items are made, and that's how they get named.
I don't know. I have a tendency to get attached to my drones as it is, and I think if I could name them as well, it'd just make those losses all the more devastating.
I mean, that's part of it. Hecate can't get in.
Well, I appreciate you hearing me out on that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I always like chatting about all kinds of EVE ideas. It's both fun with players, but also the other devs in the stream will be able to attest. It's one of my go-to things to chat about at the pub.
I try very hard. I try very hard to make a suggestion that I think is like balanced and rational, as opposed to like my pet rock.
You've never come across as somebody who did not want to discuss EVE Online. CCP Fozzie.
Yeah, it's a pretty good video game.
Yeah, it's kind of discussing CCP or discussing EVE Online is kind of the thing that you do. We got some good stuff into this one. So we got 47 million out of the first one, or 40-something million out of the first one. We got 47 million out of this one, and a mid-grade Hydra Alpha. So
nice.
Oh, nice.
Almost 100 million out of two. Uh-oh. Here, let me chew on another one of these things, so that way I have room. And probably throw away some of these fireworks, because they take up some extra space. And that'll allow me to take this and call it a day. What now?
Insidious said there's comments on the Kodama.
Oh.
Sir Paper's suggestion in chat sounds directly up Carker's alley. He wants multi-roll on mutoplasmids.
Oh yeah, to be able to roll like multiple at the same time?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that would be a nice touch. If we do a sizable like pass on it again, then I'd imagine we would be able to find a bit of time to like have some of our UI folks take a pass at it at the same.
I would urge Sir Paper to post that on Karker's forum thread.
I'm going to go get eyes on the Hiri Gate. We're probably going to be heading that direction. Okay, so to shift focus a little bit, CCP Aurora and CCP Convict, you're both relatively new to the CCP side of things, but not new to the game. And this, like, both of your hires really represent to me a new direction for the community team. And you guys have really been killing it when it comes to very consistent update. I would say that historically CCP has, if they've struggled with anything, it's been communication. And I think that you guys have really done a good job at kind of filling that gap, or, you know, this iteration has done a better job than or has learned from the past, I should say, maybe. But how's the experience been for you guys from going from community member to community manager? Has it been everything that you've hoped for? Has there been snags? Are you really, really excited about it?
I mean, I'm super excited about it. It's actually really fascinating because there's so much going on inside CCP. There's just so much constant discussion. I mean, there's people pulling out like these insane research study level discussions of things that are going on in game that you just don't get to see on the player side. And it's just really interesting to see kind of the difference there and trying to figure out, you know, how much we can share, what we can share better, all of that sort of thing is really big. Because, I mean, as a player, you know, over the years, there's definitely situations where I think just about everybody has gotten a little bit annoyed at the lack of information from CCP at some point.
We need to keep moving because that guy can bounce back soon and be able to engage again. So go ahead and jump into Hiri.
Speaking for myself, I'm glad to hear you say that, Ash. Obviously, we're trying really hard on that front. We probably, you know, can improve even more, which is something that's on our radar that we hope to do. And I just want to echo what Aurora just said before, like coming to work inside CCP, because as a player in EVE Online, you actually know a lot of stuff because CCP is so front-facing
Right.
and so open. And it was like that the entire time I was a player. You know, like if I wanted to speak to a dev, they were usually really easy to get a hold of. The company is very upfront about what's happening in development and what's happening within the company itself. So even coming in with that mindset, I was, you know, like Aurora says, there's a lot of stuff going on that you never knew about. And it's really impressive, the actual volume of work that gets put through the company.
Well, that's good to hear. I think that CCP has come a really long way, even in just the last 2 years. You know, they were never a bad company, but I mean, there has been definitely a new level of awakening, I would say. It seems very obvious. And I think that both of your guys' addition to the team represents a piece of that, you know. Fozzie, you as well were originally a member of the company before you transitioned over to CCP, and while that can come with its own challenges, I feel like it's one of the things that makes EVE Online so good and so strong is the fact that it does draw from its community. Some of the best hires that CCP has had is straight out of the community.
Yeah, I'd say between the three of us, there's probably about 35 years combined of EVE Online experience, maybe 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on a personal note, with you, Convict, I love the fact that I can brush off all my old hydrostatic podcast soundboards and, you know, get another mile out of that. So yeah, but like, do you feel like, obviously when you went to go apply to CCP, you had a dream in your heart, and it wasn't just for yourself, but it was also about what CCP is and what you working for the company could represent. One of the things that we sometimes hear, especially from the CSM, is this like disillusionment with the company itself. Like seeing behind the veil causes many of them to become distraught. I believe that this is in part because of just a lack of understanding of the development cycle. So like seeing the hot dog made is going to be icky to anybody, even if hot dogs are perfectly fine to eat. But I just want to know, like, as a transitional process as a dev into your dev world, do you feel like not just did you make the right decision, but is it what you hoped it would be?
I mean, I'm certainly not disillusioned, if that's what you're asking. As a matter of fact, since I've started, I've gotten a whole lot, almost more hope for what the future holds, which I know is going to sound a bit different than what you hear from some of the CSM after some time. But it's just kind of a weird situation with the amount of information that you get on the inside versus the outside, I think is kind of what causes that. And the CSM can be in a very particularly interesting spot where they're having to argue for changes with some inside information, but sometimes they don't have the full picture about what the goal is. And there's only so much time that they have to argue a point. And so not being able to follow through that development process as a whole and only being in that sort of advisory role can lead to a slightly different picture.
Yeah, and I think that in general, I think that players think that they understand and want control over their own game experience a lot more than they generally do. You know, like you can watch things like Game Design is a Magic Trick and other GDC videos to understand that, you know, most of the time game designers aren't being honest with you, but most of the time it's for your own good, right? Like that's the magic trick. You don't complain about the fact that there's special effects in a movie. You appreciate the fact that there's special effects in the movie. You don't say, oh, that's fake, you know, whatever. So I sometimes, when I hear feedback from a player, I think to myself, man, I bet CCP hears that feedback and they don't think, oh, this is a problem. They think, oh, it worked. You know, not every discomfort is a lack of design. I'll put it that way. So
yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's also, I think the special effect analogy is a good one. A movie is obviously presenting you with an illusionary experience, and you have to suspend disbelief. But it's also part of the goal of the people making the movie too, to not have you notice the special effects in the moment quite as much, and it's pretty similar with game design as well.
This might sound incredibly nerdy, but I kind of think of this along the lines of GMing for tabletop role-playing games.
Right.
Like the goal of the GM is for everyone to have fun, make cool stories and have a good time. The GM themselves is not usually super invested in like the reality of their world. And so it's a very different perspective to have that sort of like game designer outlook versus the player.
Right, exactly. Forest for trees, you know. Like
you're the custodians of the experience.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like the fun for us is making sure that we give you guys fun and that you guys get good stories out of the game. And that's a bit of a different.
Right. A player usually, what I find is that a lot of players in games across the board will frame themselves in an adversarial way with the person running the game because they are competing. But often the person who's running the game, depending on the game, isn't actually competing with the player. They don't want you to lose. They want you to win. And in fact, they want you to feel as good as humanly possible when you win. And
that means that sometimes you want them to struggle in the process of the
right, exactly.
So that it feels really good.
Yeah, Firo is the conquering of a challenge. Like that, you don't get to experience that emotional state if you don't at least perceive a challenge. Flow state doesn't happen unless you are being able to push yourself, and that requires very specific tools of both challenge and feedback that create those emotional responses.
This speaks directly to what I've been saying about of all the changes in Surgical Strike, specifically the resist slash. It was too easy. There was no dopamine hit anymore from winning because I just threw a bunch of bling at it. And now there's room for mastery. There's room for improvement. There's room for learning how to pilot better.
I'm gonna have to jettison even more stuff.
A good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, not a terrible.
The low tier officers effects are the lowest ISPERM 3.
Yeah, for this event, CCP Fozzie took a lot of inspiration from Death Stranding.
I've been playing so much of that game.
I also, like, in general, I think that the use of LowSec for short-term events is just brilliant because it has all of the issues of like being out and overextended and all that kind of stuff, and it's the right amount of excitement versus danger versus giving you the tools to actually compensate for it, in my opinion.
Plus, it's just a really awesome part of space to fly in, and it just needed some love.
Mm-hmm. And this
is wonderful because you never have like full control over it. It's not like very protected space. There's always conflicts. It's just so fluid.
I'm heading to PJR. PJR Huntmaster site 7.89. I just opened it up.
Yep. On my way to join you. Yeah, the fact that LowSec is much harder to lock down than some areas of space was definitely one of the factors in us leaning towards using it for a lot of these events. The other really big one is that LowSec just happens to be in good proximity to most players. You're never too far away from the nearest LowSec space, which means that it's a place where you can go. You can run these events both if you live in LowSec, but also if you're a day tripper coming from wormholes, pretty easy to get to LowSec. If you're a day tripper coming from HighSec, pretty easy to get to LowSec. If you're a day tripper coming from NullSec, it's pretty easy to get to LowSec, and that gives a very wide variety of people opportunity to try out these sites.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I also find this as like kind of we're also been doing a lot of fixes towards faction warfare recently. There's been a lot of love towards making those mechanics work in a better way, and it reminds me of what we've been talking about in the faction warfare roundtables and stuff, which is the idea of like short-lived campaigns within faction warfare that bring focus not just to the war zone for a short period of time, but even like a specific constellation or region within the war zone to just concentrate conflict in an area. Because rather than trying to create too much arbitrary like PvP or whatever, just giving a reason for more people to be in a specific place, to be condensed tighter for a short period of time that can then be celebrated, and metrics can be shown and awards can be given, and then the next one reset in like almost a seasonal sort of system. I've always thought that would be a really good way for faction warfare to go, and I feel like these events, this and Dragonar Blitz in particular, have represented good examples of what that potential could look like.
Yeah, it's like an artificial reef, right? You go out into the middle of the ocean where the seafloor is barren, you throw in a big piece of junk, and then some moss will grow on it, and some fish will start hanging out, and the organisms will just be attracted to that spot. I guess this is kind of like the same sort of the principle. You
Should I be offended by that?
No, but like you create a site like one of these. Here we are looking for it. We just chased a guy off from another one. Other people might run across us soon, and then the conflict will happen. That otherwise would have just sort of people would have just passed each other like ships in the night.
Right. Most PvE is focused on avoiding the PvP outcome, but what we're seeing now is more things that I call PvPvE, where you are engaging, you go out to engage in a cluster of tasks at one time, not really even necessarily knowing which one of those you're going to end up doing. Like, I don't know if we're going to just end up running sites all night and just make a ton of money. I don't know if we're going to get a good fight. I know it's probably going to be one of those two, and more importantly, I'm not, like one of the issues with faction warfare complexes before they got revamped back in like 2012 or whatever was that they were full on sites. You had to be properly tooled for them. You had to have the correct tank. You had they were missions basically. And so no one could feel free to stay and fight because the tools that it took to actually run the mission and the tools that it would take to hold the site against opponents and feel comfortable enough with that fight were two different things. Those are two different problems. And so these sites present much closer to a PvP problem than a PvE problem, which allows you to create a solution that, well, a really good example is Insidious, who's here with us now. Like, he is a very well-experienced low-sec pirate that, under the most circumstances, probably could not be asked to do PvE stuff. But these sites aren't just normal PvE to him, so he's able to run them. He actually makes a ton of money doing them because he's found out how capable he can do when he isn't killing people, but it also has gotten him plenty of things to kill. And the fact that they scram and force people to be committed ends up creating a lot of interesting stories. And I think that actually even the fact that there's time in between the waves is very well balanced, because it lets you give an opportunity to either burn off and be conservative. You can, like, in between, there's this moment of tension where it's like, well, fuck, should we just warp off now? Should I, this is my opportunity to escape. Should I or shouldn't I? All those moments wouldn't exist if it wasn't designed the way it was.
The answer to this site and to the Dragonar Blitz was never bling to begin with. And that is a very, very stark difference between this and other PvE, because not only is bling not necessary, it really in this case just makes you a bigger loss mail.
Yeah, loss acceptance is an important part of the step into PvP, and I feel like events like this aid in that process.
I think that this was balanced extremely well to provide both PvE and PvP experience.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. That's definitely one of the things we were going for.
And on the subject of really good balance recently, I want to call to mind a focus. This isn't technically any of you guys, but I'm just going to use this opportunity. The signal and noise filaments, which have obviously been extremely successful. A piece of it that it took me a long time to really grasp, and it wasn't until I was trying to build the narrative of how am I going to pitch these things to people that I realized something. So for years, CCP has struggled with this idea that data sites aren't valuable compared to relic sites, and there's been a lot of things that have tried to happen to make that change. And I feel like originally the goal was that data sites were more spiky with blueprint drops, while relic sites were more consistent with salvage drops. But over time, that becomes less and less true until data sites are just deemed not as valuable. But now that filaments drop, filaments are something that are not intrinsically valuable unless you need one. And so now the act of going and yeeting out for exploration's sake, I can tell people, get data sites for money, get relic sites for money and data sites for more filaments. And that makes sense. It makes it incomparable. It's not which one is the most money. It's not which one, whatever. It's one of them is the reward and the other one is the tool. And I don't know if it was actually intended to be that way. But if it was, awesome. But either way, it really works. It's a concept that is easy to gnaw on.
Yeah, if you're talking about back in the original intent with data and relic sites, they were both intended to be a little bit on the swingy side, much more so than the comparable content at the time, which was things like level 4 missions. But the fact that the split, I think it came more from the fact that the data sites were tied to invention really heavily, which then happened to have a smaller number of more swingy valuable items to provide. So I'm not sure if it was an intentional thing that it was more swingy than relic, or if it came from the fact that it was intentional that it be the invention based site, and then that led into it being a bit more swingy.
Well, we definitely have some loot now.
What did you get?
C3X.
You're turning into a real pinata.
I know. I've become the pinata. Look at me. I'm I'm the rat now. So, let's see, is there another Huntmaster site in here? I thought
I'm
there was.
surprised all those people that were following us left.
Yeah, I know, right? They're just letting us kind
I
of chill
think they
out. This is
got-
fine.
I think they got killed by a different group.
Well,
It's probably those kangaroos.
Do you need more cargo space, Ash? I still have 45 open.
we could sort that out. I think that we should just start heading to Akadagi, so that way I can squirrel things away back into high sec. I'm gonna bring my burst down. Yep. Yeah. Set destination to what Insidious just linked. Ash is warping to Pine Gate. I will have 15 seconds on my timer, so it should be up by the time we get there. Exclamation point CCP for your chance to win. Somebody remind me when we get to Akadagi and safe up to do another pull. And I realized that I don't even know if we ever... It was Trondar, right?
Tornar.
Tornar. We'll make sure to get it to him. I think Yeet fleets are pretty fucking amazing, by the way. Just...
Yeah, they're
As an
one of
aside.
the experiments that's worked out very well.
Dare I say it's
many
like
of the things that work out well in Eve, they came originally from a couple of devs brainstorming and prototyping a bit in their.
yeah.
So there was 5 abandoned Hornets on that gate. How much worse would you feel if they had names?
Yeah, that would be crushing.
Yeah.
Listen,
this
Eve
is
is
why I
real,
want
man.
it.
Okay.
Actually, it might even make me go over and scoop them up.
Right.
You know?
Okay,
Maybe
Steve, I
home.
got you, Steve.
Especially if you knew that the fact that they had names meant that they'd be muta-rolled, and there's a chance that they're really.
Yeah, that would
there's,
be
a,
interesting.
there's an Algos on this side, but that's it.
We jump through.
There's 12 in Nana, but gate is.
Okay, we'll just keep going then. Is there any Huntmasters?
Oh yeah, I should be keeping an eye out for that. But I figured you couldn't fit any more in. Yes, there is. There is a
Insidious.
Huntmaster in Nana.
Uh-oh, Wangs has spotted us. Matter of time now.
I'm just holding on the Akadagi gate for you guys to catch up.
No, let's go and run the Huntmaster sites in Nena.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if my shit gets blown up and we lose
Is
all
there
the
a
stuff,
station
then grats to them.
Fozzie, you have a fan in chat.
There's a neutral station here.
Oh,
I don't
thanks,
know if
pleasure.
you're-
though.
Yeah, Nena.
You can just
That's true too. There's 12 in local too, so. Wait, in Nena there's a Huntmaster? Because I don't see any.
Nana Mela? Yeah. I'm going to warp to it now. Wait a minute. It's disappeared from my overview. Did someone just finish it?
They must have just run it.
Yeah, I just warped to it to like empty space after I clicked on the beacon. Oh, well.
Sounds like they're the loop pinata.
Yeah, right.
Good intel. All right, so we'll warp Akadagi.
five in them.
All right, I'm gonna actually. Nah, that's fine. Let's run one more site, and then we'll be done. And then I'll duck out there and squirrel stuff away.
Going to the open one here.
Yep. I assume it was the open one. The Huntmaster, right?
Yeah, there's just the one Huntmaster in the system, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of the normal Hunt ones. Yeah.
I just didn't notice if it was open before I warped to it or not. Doesn't look like there's anything inside. There was a catalyst on scan, but it doesn't look like it's here. How many apple fritters is my ship worth? One of our good buddies, Timerian, who is with Imperium, has both created the Delve clock, where we discovered that you could actually orbit structures at arbitrarily large distances and arbitrarily quickly, like 6K per second. And so did the math to figure out how long it would take to, at like 3,000 kilometers away, orbit a structure in 24 hours or in 12 hours, and then another time in 1 hour, and then in 60 seconds. So with 3 ships, you can actually create a physical clock out of the Delve Goon territory, which was pretty amazing.
I think he dropped cans or depots along the way.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was 2 a.m. is a really interesting time for our Discord. I'll just put it that way.
It's when all of the best worst things happen.
It's true. But he also created what's called the fritter index. He always says that he likes apple fritters, and so he's figured out how much ISK apple fritters are worth, so he measures all of his costs in apple fritters.
To be clear, there are no RNT implications here. He's just wondering how many apple fritters he has to give up so that he can pay CCP for legitimate plex to get his ISK.
That's what we should convince all the news organizations to use as the point of conversion whenever type.
The fritter index. I mean, it's a thing, man.
5,000 fritters worth of ships explode in space battle video game.
Like, seriously, he actually explained to me the impact of, like, the Roqual nerfs and all this stuff on nullsec empires and, like, the Umbrella and all this sort of stuff, but simply in fritters as an economics. It's very valuable. 150 million ISK per fritter. That's what it is. That's the fritter index. So in that case, my ship is currently worth about 4 fritters, and the loot is worth about 2.5.
And actually, it's kind of.
What was that? You broke up.
Yeah, sorry. I said that actually seems kind of
Low? Well, I mean, a fritter's only a couple bucks, right? Plex is 1.7 now, 1.6.
Well, is it an artisanal fritter?
I don't know. He's Navy, so I'm pretty sure he just means like going to the quickie mart and like grabbing
$1 fritters or.
Yeah, he only estimated it like a couple of dollars.
Okay.
Yeah, based on how much he pays at his local bakery on average for apple fritters. There's always a method to the madness. It's always madness.
There's always a method to the mad knock.
Ha! $1.75 to $2 a fritter. Locaval the Nub is also in chat. How's it going, man? That dude is a guy who has definitely gotten the most out of many of the new features that you guys have come out with in the last couple of years. He has made a ton of money in the Abyss. This guy, I don't know if you've watched Locaval, but he will run 2 3-man T5 Abyss or T4 Abyss with 4 other players, 2 in each of the other groups. So he's got 1 guy in 2 different Abyss runs that are being ran at the same time. And that's what he does.
He's FCing them both.
Yeah. And then when he makes a ton of money off of that, he then goes and breaks the hypernet in spooky ways. That's the sound of Locavol being added to a list.
No, I would say that Loki is a really, really great example of someone who really engages in Eve wholeheartedly. Like, he doesn't talk about doing stuff. He does stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He has these insane ideas. He generates an insane amount of ISK, and he pours it into his next insane idea, which generates another insane amount of ISK. And it's just, he doesn't do it for the money. He gives the money away to his viewers, to his friends, etc. And he's just doing it because it's fun to do.
Yep. One of the things that he's been doing recently is that he'll put up mobile depots, and he'll reinforce it himself, and then he'll tell us what the reinforcement timer is. And basically, depending on the kill mail and the rules, people will get a prize, you know, like either like most damage or last hit or, you know, biggest frigate, you know, whatever he's changed it up a time or two. But he, you know, is creating these little events out of that stuff, which we're actually stepping up the game a little bit more. Tonight, we are running a kind of tournament, a Yeet tournament, as it were, where we're taking our basic T1 Dark Kestrels and take 5 of them out at a time and teleport them out into nullsec and make them kill each other. And then the winner from each of those heats will be brought in together and yeeted out one more time. And the winner of that will be the grand prize winner. And all of the winners will get a T5 Hawk, like a T5 fit, for a Hawk fit for T5 Darks, at least before the nerf. And
doesn't use any resist mods. Beat
yay! That. Also, the grand prize winner will get the Ghostbird skin for the Hawk. So we're constantly trying to use the tools that you guys have had. You know, one of the themes that we get into is the fact that EVE Online is not a game. It is a series of tools by which we create games within.
Yes, yeah, it very much falls within the toy category of the Will Wright game toy dichotomy.
But again, like, we can create full-fledged games within those tools, though, you know. So it opens up the possibility for us to create our own fun by using not only the stuff that you guys have provided, but also creating our own infrastructure on top of that to kind of create the systems that will be working. You know, player-driven challenges.
Totally makes sense. I mean, Eve at no point really tells you how you're supposed to enjoy it. It just gives you a whole bunch of things, and
no, you guys let the players do that.
You're left to figure out what you want to get.
Right. And I think that also makes it really hard because, you know, when players say, well, what is there to do? What is the correct thing to do? The answer is, all right, I'm going to duck into Ikoria to drop off some of this stuff. You guys can, like...
Kitsune landing on the gate, Hikata.
Our gate?
In the site. He's right on the site.
We can bounce. You want me to bounce and get back in there with you?
They might get you on the outside.
That's true.
There's an Ashimu.
None of them can slide in.
Well, the Kitsune can, but I think that what's in there could definitely take on the Kitsune.
There's a slicer now. Yeah, I mean, if we wanna just fight right here, we can have a good little brawl. But it would be better to have Ash.
Let's go to the small military beacon at 7.5. Small military beacon at 7.5. We're going to get a suspect flag for this. But if they want to fight, we can fight there. It's got the exact same rules.
The Kitsune's name is classy.
Is it the broadcasted one?
QVM. Just activate on contact. Make sure your safeties are yellow. We'll just sit here for a minute or two. Oh, hey, look, there's a catalyst.
There was a catalyst. You got out.
I need to get back off.
Didn't even think about that one. So now they have the option. If they want to come in, they can come in. If they don't, then we can move on. We already got our prize. Ow. You meanie.
In the grandest of all RVB traditions, I'm pre-whoring.
Nice. I am going to be right back. I still want to like get this stuff out of here if I can.
We're the only.
The asterisk is right.
Yeah, if it's not better by the time I get back, which I mean, the funny thing is that now I've done it with a suspect flag, which brings up a whole nother set of challenges when I jump in. So I gave up one excitement for another. We'll see how it works out. It's a bold move, Cotton.
They're not on short yet, so.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna come after you, but they can.
Oh, I take that back. 3 comments.
Yep.
That's a lot of Algoses.
4 comments.
Feel free to.
A lot of stuff.
Feel free to not engage if you don't want to.
Yeah,
Oh, I totally want to.
Oh yeah.
We'll get some
destroyers.
Make it happen.
And a cormorant. Kill the cormorant first, he'll go down real quick.
Who's calling primary? Just call them as they land.
If you want to get it Insidious, unless somebody else wants to do it.
I'm actually on a cell phone and a laptop.
Fair enough.
Really.
I'm on a laptop too, this is not great.
I'm on the road like I normally am, so.
Awesome.
Dedication, people.
Or we could just, all fall apart. That'd be cool too.
CCP Fuzzy, you should FCS. Show us your skills.
Yes.
You're all call some targets that come in.
Mm-hmm.
Is Ash at the Citadel, or are you still here, Ash?
I'm in Echoria right now.
Look at you with your one drone, Aurora.
Go big or go home.
Has it got a name?
It does.
Are you going to bring any keys back with you, Ash?
Yeah.
His name is Bob.
Praise Bob.
Outside's getting a little thicker. And while we have devs on the line, can we get the typing?
Ooh, here they come.
All right. We'll go after LAS and the comment first. LAS and the comment. All right, LAS in the comment. Secondary will be Dragons in the Cormorant. Dragons in the Cormorant secondary. Dragons is primary. Dragons in the Cormorant is primary. Secondary will be CEL in the comment. CEL in the comment. Dragons is down. CEL is now primary. New secondary is TET.
I'm down.
CEL is primary. TET is secondary.
Is it worth me coming back in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so we've got what, 4 comets, a Unislasher left.
Okay, coming.
We're doing all right. We can take this. We can take this.
CEL rep.
Yeah, all right. Let's switch to TET. Switch to TET in the comment.
Wait, CEL's
doing
going.
that as well. Oh yeah, now he's going. All right, I'm down now.
Uh-oh. Is there anybody left in there?
Yep, me and 2 comments. Come.
I'm still here. I'm still
Okay.
here. This is RBB. They're going down. I warned them.
I'm gonna activate gate.
Another comment just came in as well. Or a slicer, sorry.
Coming in. Who's primary?
Slicer, Jack turned the slicer feed. He's burning off. Zen, Sai, and the end. Ah, man, they finally got.
Scram on the Enyo.
Same scram on the Enyo if you want to split scram.
Okay.
Enyo's scariest. If you can pull range and get out of void, you'll be good. Nice. Slasher's closest.
Slicer's about to get caught.
Even better.
Slicer's caught. Nope, never mind. Fuck.
Yeah, he's.
That Slasher's coming in towards you. You might be able to grab him. He's pretty.
We'll see. I'm not the most agile with this giant afterburner. Nope. Scared him.
He bugged.
That was a good fight.
Yeah, it was.
Victory?
Yeah.
Victory.
More. Courser. Off. Man, that crow's fast too.
The interceptor is fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fast things are fast. Is that what I just said?
The crow got me into hull in my pod before he moved himself out of range.
Nice.
And a crow too. It's pretty solid.
There's still quite a bit of stuff that could theoretically come in, but also all the CCP
Well,
are
I'm
dead.
just sitting in a pod, so.
Yep. So, do we want to reset?
Yeah, just head back to staging, pick up
Yeah.
well, to those guys who are shooting us, if you're listening, come, send me home.
Oh, where are you at?
I got you.
I mean, Ash can give you the Pod Express.
No
I mean, I can teleport myself. I was just wanted somebody to get me.
there.
I'm going to try and make it back in my capsule with a suspect timer. This is going to be awesome.
Now I get to get
inside.
CCP Aurora's sweet dev implants.
You mean the 5%?
Hey, if it dropped.
So there's some fighting going on outside of the Plex, actually. That's some of the stuff that's outside that could get in is actually engaging the other stuff.
Yeah, they're screening
that's some
off,
really big stuff.
which is pretty funny.
Blackbird, Execure, Rapier, Double Malediction, Ashmu, Omen, Execure again.
It's actually kind of one of my favorite things that can happen in these sorts of sites, because there's the fight on the outside to control, to kind of choke off the inside, and then the fight on the inside. You know, it usually matters when you're in faction warfare, so you actually care about who wins the Plex, but I mean, still.
There's a Pontifex and Mercuria with the Huntmaster.
So we should probably get back to like Old Man Star area as fast as possible if we're going to reset with them. think I've gotten... everything I want out of here. Whose corpses did I get? CCP Aurora and 10 Psy. Somebody got other CCPers. Oh well. I'm gonna.
Yeah. The guys outside got mine.
Oh, okay.
If you get my corpse, you should definitely like just randomly include it in the giveaway sometime.
Speaking of giveaway, I definitely need to do that second skin giveaway as I head out. We'll see if I live all the way to get home to meet up with you guys. But we are pulling for this latest one, the Hecate Kali Neon skin. We're going to be pulling in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bam! Oh gosh, am I going to die by Macarial? Really? No smart bombs, huh? Oh, my suspect flag has betrayed me. Grendel! Grendel, you, sir, get a Hecate skin. Congratulations. I keep moving.
Oh boy.
Hashtag rigged. Grendel is my manager. He's the guy that makes sure that I, pay my power bill and stuff. He's a good guy. Good guy to have around. Oh, that's not a good guy to have around. Holy snapperoo.
Ooh.
All of those are cruisers. Oh man, there's a reasonable chance that they ain't got it. There's a reasonable chance that they ain't got it.
What has 2 thumbs and is happy you dropped off the loot?
Yeah, no kidding, right? Okay.
What alliance is that that's camping the gate? And what gate?
Hikokin and
Shadow Cartel.
Yeah, Shadow Cartel.
Yeah, I'll just wait out my high sec timer and go that way.
Come on, I can't pre-overheat?
Nope, they fixed the pre-overheat. The shortcut keys don't work.
Bye. Woo!
Wow, moments before a gate cloak.
I was gonna do like an overheated, overpropped AB burn off to pine, in approach and then warp off. Oof.
That would have been really, really bad because the acceleration on the oversized prob would have got you killed for sure.
What do you mean?
You would never made warp.
No, I need to get away from their drones and their blasters.
Hours.
No, but I need to get away from them first. I was outside of web range for most of them. I don't know. I think that would have been my best choice.
I just know that from driving this oversized prop drogger, it does not accelerate fast.
That's true. Hey, Pez.
And by not fast, I mean like delivery truck fast.
It's true. It's not it doesn't have high impulse. Wait, what? I'm going for it. God, I'm greedy. Why am I greedy about corpses over everything else?
That's a lot to unpack.
I got pipe bombed by the initiative.
Oh no!
Different time in 2 days you've gotten back on.
Where?
Uli, one jumping into high sec.
Oh, you got your pot out.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
I figure there's no point in letting him kill me and take my corpse because there's already so many of those in the game. They're pretty much worthless anyway.
Well, you.
I think I've dropped 3 at this point.
you dying in Eve is kind of like a staple of the game now, right? Like that's like it's like a feature.
It's canon.
It's canonical. That's
Yeah,
true.
we should just like take some CCP convict corpses and auto-generate them and
On a long enough timeline, I hear that New Eden will transition to a CCP convict corpse economy.
Base economy, yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Cajun Vixen, how's it going? Oh, Carnage Rose brings up a good point. CCP Fozzie, when are we going to get the corpse bay on all of the other Blood Raider ships like they belong?
It'd be cool to see them on some more ships. At the moment, they're limited to just like special high-end Blood Raider ships. But yeah, I could see doing more things with that. I'd love to do more things with the Blood Raiders' obsession with corpses, maybe at the Crimson Harvest next year. I've always had this dream of having. I've had a lot of ideas that I've loved revolving corpses in Eve, which again is a little bit creepy. But one that I've always enjoyed is having a mobile tractor unit that instead of pulling in Rex pulls in corpses.
Yeah, that's nice. A good one.
I'd love that. I mean, if there was like a corpse grinder that let you turn corpses into some sort of useful thing, people would go crazy over that.
The thing is, though, corpses aren't meant to be useful. Corpses are meant to be trophies.
It's true.
Corpses are like, if you try to give them some kind of mechanical value, it just turns the collecting of corpses into some kind of job. It should be a joy.
Yeah, you don't want to pervert the wholesome habit of collecting corpses by bringing money into.
So I have some very large corpse bays, I will admit.
So
we're definitely going to quote Fozzie on collecting corpses should be a joy.
Oh yeah.
You do it for the heart, not for the money.
There's always been a split at CCP between the people that love collecting corpses and the people that find that first group really, really weird.
I'm back in Yvonne, ready to scout you guys in. If you guys want to move over to Charm and be ready.
Yeah, and that's my argument every time someone says, hey, we should be allowed to reprocess corpses for a chance at implants or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but then that ruins the corpse game.
Mm-hmm. I actually, the one of those that I really like the idea of is salvage implants. So make high grade implants require salvaged lower grade. So like you grind up corpses to try to like get the bits and pieces to use as salvage, just like you would with normal salvaging.
You could possibly have the best of both worlds. Like you keep your trophy, but you manage to extract.
Yeah. No, it's just
but
you
once
know,
you
the
take it out of
headless
its
corpse.
packaging, it loses all of its value.
There's the corpse and the headless corpse.
Oh God.
You can just cut off the head and keep the rest.
Yeah. So the headless corpse loses its name. It just becomes like a nameless corpse.
I just want a way to proudly display my favorite corpses.
Yeah, I mean that was the one thing that I really wanted to see in Washington Station.
Trophies in general.
I want to have one on the wall.
If it doesn't look like Han Solo and Carbonite, I don't want it.
Yeah, that would have been a fun use for it. Probably would have gotten us like some weird censorship things in like China and Australia.
Speaking of which, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say no comment. I know that it was in the news recently that there's stuff about China and video games. Is there any impact on that on Eve that we can expect that you guys know of?
I mean, that's not something that any of us are necessarily experts on, but we got the approval to launch in China, relaunch in China recently, so Serenity is back up and running, and that's a pretty recent thing. So at least I know that the government gave us that.
Well, good enough. I have I have 256 of those charges still in my Draugr Insidious.
Then I'll switch to energized if you have energized.
I'm currently bursting energized and rapid repair because we didn't assume that you were going to be here.
What's the other one? Do you have the other one?
I didn't bring it, but I could theoretically go get it. Extension.
Is it on?
Extension
is it on
is for
market?
shields. It's reinforcement.
Yeah, reinforcement. That's what it is.
Yeah, just because you changed the name doesn't mean it doesn't do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but it's useful when looking it up.
It's useful when you're trying to buy it.
Speaking of which, since I got you guys here, I'm going to give you another one. So on this fitting window, I love the fitting window. I love the search mechanisms on the side of the fitting window. I would like to be able to right-click on any attribute in the fitting window to bring up modules and things that will impact that attribute.
Oh, like it does in Python and used to do in EFT, where you can right-click and it says affected by.
Yeah, that would be very nice.
But yeah, so like if I need more scan resolution. I don't know how to get scan resolution. I can right-click on it and set filter to, and it'll actually like filter the item list by things that increase your scan resolution.
That would be pretty solid.
No, that invalidates my encyclopedic knowledge of modules.
What if Eve was a learnable game?
Stop dumbing this game down, Ash.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right?
I'm not trying to dumb down the game. I'm trying to make the players smarter.
No, I think it's a brilliant idea. It's definitely something that should probably go in that thread of CCP Carcos.
The little thing thread.
I just linked that the other day as well.
People will always make comments on like how I am able to recall specific modules or implants or whatever it is, fittings, and I know exactly what they do. And my response, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so impressed." I'm like, "Guys, I literally just spent too much time in BIFA. Like that is the sum total of it. This is not special. This is just time invested reading stuff. And if the UI was able to give users that knowledge over the time organically and feed it to them when they don't already have it memorized, you would see a lot more people with that knowledge in the end.
Right. Is the Phantom known as CCP Fozzie around too?
Yeah, I'm in Charlemont right now.
Okay. Well, the rest of us are in Yvonne. There's a couple of dudes. Aurora's under attack.
What?
Do you need help?
I kind of drove right in on.
Are you gonna go down? Are you doing all right? Yeah, I'm warping to her.
Yeah, come fight.
We're coming to fight on the gate, Yvonne gate.
I can always get more ships, so I just have to.
Yeah, screw it.
Oh, he's rocket fit. I need to pull range. Rip. I was shooting Budweiser.
Yep.
The issue is that we will maybe get gate guns by attacking them. I'm not 100% sure, actually.
Oh, that's probably why I died so fast.
Oh, you engaged them?
Thinking.
Aha.
Sorry, let me go get another ship here.
Well, my safeties are green and I'm able to engage, so here we go.
I have kind of a fast trip. I can't resist taking a fight.
It's a good habit.
Good on you.
Yeah, this guy has a tank.
Yeah, man, I can hardly track him as well.
It's almost like he's a hawk. There he goes.
Yeah, there you go.
ADCU. Well, that was fun.
Glad it worked out.
You didn't die in vain.
Thank you for backing me up.
Let's not comment about how my 10nm AB made it so I showed up way too late.
Not the size of the prop, but how you use it.
Oh no, Aurora got popped again.
Talk it.
Now I have 2 of her corpses, which means if I die, there's like 2 50% chances that it drops. I mean, so far this has been a pretty successful content system. Let's just hang out here for a little bit while Aurora gets back.
Sounds good to me.
So since you got killed by a hawk, I can mention one of the unique features of the hawk in that it is a Caldari ship with a reps bonus.
Hmm.
You were commenting on its tank. That's a unique feature among the Caldari. Generally speaking, that's found on Minmatar ships, while the Caldari get to resist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a holdover from before that pattern was established. Actually, the Hawk's bonus predates that.
So is that up for grabs potentially?
I mean, it could be, but we don't necessarily feel the need to remove every possible version of bonuses that might fit better with a different race. So you see some the occasional rep bonus on a Mars ship and the occasional resistance bonus on a Minmatar and Galenta ship as well. It would be if it was something that kind of got you fitting modules that didn't fit the race at all, then that would be something we consider a problem. But I don't think I'd consider it a problem in any way in its current form.
A little flavor is good.
Can we get the mining bonus back on the Navitas?
The Omen's locking me? Yellow box?
Yeah, he's yellow boxing me as well.
Are any of us suspect?
Not me.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to lock it, so that way I can engage if it does. Oh, I'm getting some rubber banding. Are you guys getting any connection issues?
Not at the moment. We had some DDoS issues yesterday.
That's true.
So
City of
I
Sainthood,
don't know if
you have foolishly engaged.
I don't know if the DDoS attack was really quick, or if whatever systems you guys put in place or the people you have in place just reacted really fast. But I got disconnects over the period of a few minutes, and that was the sum total of my DDoS experience yesterday. So I appreciate the work you've put in.
Yeah, glad to hear it. Yeah, it'll affect different people differently, but we're always, and our partners are always trying to make it affect as many people as little as possible, and try to minimize the.
Lycanthropy, my favorite gum is juicy fruit.
People responded to that one yesterday really fast.
Oh? Did I give the boring answer? Oh well. What was the fun answer?
I don't know, everlasting gobstop.
Oh, actually, so I also wanted to comment because I'm looking at this billboard over here. When can we get the sound version of the new CDIA files we see?
The Garistas ad. That is a good question. Like when I was going through the versions of those videos, which are the ones displayed on the billboard, they didn't have sound on them.
Mm-hmm.
So where the original versions of those floating around, if indeed they do have some sort of narrational audio, I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to follow that up with our cinematics guys, which is something I can probably do next week.
I just want to know what Fatal's up to.
Hold on, I want to understand. Does this mean that you guys found these things as like an older file that just never got shown, or are these new works of production?
I believe these files have been around a while.
Yes.
Interesting.
The current ads on the billboards, but we want to expand the range of ads on there to give you guys a bit more variety. But at the same time we realized that the clear vision stuff was really starting to get under people's skin. So we looked around for something that we had that would be ready to go, that we could just push out to the billboard straight away, and that was these the ship advertisements, and we decided to include this Garistas one because it was very topical with the Hunt event going on. So we include all of those. So these are slightly older. I think the yours to fly, those ads were actually from when we updated the alpha tree, and so that they could fly battleships and things like that.
And so those were built to be used as like very, very short video ads for YouTube.
I remember that there was a lot of little videos made for different ships, like just little like 20-second blurb, like showing off all different kinds of little ships that came out and was put out on the YouTube that was never really pointed to or played with at all. Is the CDIA file specifically that caught my attention, because I've been asking for those for like ever.
All right, I can follow that up for you, man. Just ping me after the show or something like that so that I don't forget.
Sure thing. I know there's a lot of people that are excited about that. And on the same topic, I guess I would be remiss if I don't bring this up at every opportunity, but back in 2005 in E-Vegas, when I was there, and they revealed Fatal as the major opponent in E-Valkyrie, that came with a video. And that video was never made available to anyone outside of that, to the point where people have it memorized where in the presentation that video is so that we can skip to it and show it off when we need to.
Interesting.
It'd be really awesome if we could get that Fatal video. Like,
there's like a 85% chance that it's somewhere. There's a copy still in existence somewhere on the CCP network.
I sure do hope so, because like I said, I mean, it was a really good video for the situation, and I find that these types of things are a handy way. Like, there's so much to the Eve lore that it's confusing, but it's also, there's so much that has just been like left by the wayside over the years, either through websites that don't exist anymore, both on CCP and on player side, and just content that is difficult to access. But these, especially like the old scope videos, are these amazing shorthand products that I can just throw at somebody to catch them up about a specific piece of information. Caroline Star, Drifters, Trig, Sancha comes up a lot. Yeah. So the Sancha CDIA is super valuable.
This is something I'm like very personally passionate about. And this sort of started off last year when I did my Model Interesting Things talk at E-Vegas.
Yeah.
Because I just started at CCP. I was living out of a suitcase. I didn't have a computer at home. I was sleeping on a mattress on the floor, waiting for all my stuff to arrive. And there was nothing else for me to do, really, except to just like bum around the office late into the night, where I had a decent PC. And someone showed me CCP's file archive on the network, and I was like, cool. And I just started digging through that, and I was finding all these amazing things that were really, really exciting to me. And that was like the genesis for that Mildly Interesting Things talk. But that's kind of led to something else, in that like I'm always finding really cool stuff on that server, things that I either had never seen before or haven't seen in forever. And now again, I want to stress this is just like a passion project. It's not official. It's not an official CCP thing. But I thought, wouldn't it be great to have like some kind of like Eve preservation project, where we have a website that's not going to go away, that's just going to have everything on it that people can just come and trawl through anytime they want to find like old videos, screenshots, anything that we're comfortable with releasing, so that when you try to go back to a website that had some really cool stuff on it 5 years ago, you find out you get a 404 when you try to use that URL or whatever. So that's something I want to start to work on, and I've already approached CCP Antiquarian about this. He's actually very aptly named Dev. He has a degree in like archival science or something like that. So I was going to tap him initially just to sort of help me with my approach to this, and like for collecting and categorizing and all these kinds of things. Now, this is a thing that may not ever happen or may not happen anytime soon, but it's what you're talking about is something I actually care a lot about, and I want to see if I can make it happen.
So I've restrained myself from gushing until now, but I really got to say that since you Convict have joined the team, it really feels I didn't feel like Guard's shoes were filled until then. I feel that you connect with community in a very special way, almost like we have our man on the inside to some degree or another. And I really, really appreciate having you in the position that you're in.
Thanks, man. That feels really good to hear. Thank
What was local like in Rockaposs? I didn't catch that.
It's a snuff staging system.
Yeah, that's a good
so
point. Let's
there's
just keep
always a
going.
lot of people in there, but they can't go in. Supers can't slide. So
Yeah, but they can still. I mean, like, it's not worth turning around.
you're
forward.
FC, dude.
Yep.
You're FC.
Yeah. I mean, like, so full disclosure, I obviously talked to CCP Convict in the background quite a bit and try to point out as many of these things as I can to him because he really does care about this. And I will say, like, to your credit, of all of the people that I've ever worked with when it comes to CCP and other game companies, you know, as a player trying to make things happen, CCP Convict has been by far the most responsive, proactive, and just give a shit like community manager I've ever had the fortune of working with. And that is that's not an insult to any of the other community managers I've worked with. It's just, you can tell that CCP Convict comes from the community and brings with that the knowledge of what it's really going to take to make people feel, you know, part of it. And I appreciate it.
But don't just having said that, I think I appreciate those remarks, but I'm not always going to be able to come through for people when they when they ping me and they need help or support with something. Unfortunately, I just won't be able to deliver for everyone. So it's important to keep expectations moderated that way. And yeah, like it's coming from the game has absolutely helped a lot. I mean, I think 3 days ago marked my 16th year playing EVE Online. So I've been around for a long time, and I hope to be around for a long time yet.
Yeah, what's that everyone says? He's been dying for 17 years?
Yeah.
For 17 more?
I'm not even joking. I actually have the screenshot of the forum post from like 2003. Like, I just keep that on my desktop.
Nice, yeah. So we're in Mushikegi, heading to VAR to see if there's any sites there.
I fell off. I'll try and catch.
Yeah, I got split off. I'm not sure how I wound up over here.
It's all right. If you guys see anything, we can always just collapse in or something. I moved us quickly and I got us kind of scattered, so that way we can keep an eye out and we can always just collapse in wherever that's important. VAR is a part of it. Well, Tesk is a dead end right after VAR, so I like to kind of swoop through here and look for sites. That is one thing I will say. Oh, VAR has a site. We can get it started if you want.
Sounds good.
One of the things that I will say about these sites is that if they are going to be as condensed as they are, like in requirement, it'd be nice if they were more frequent within that condensed area. Like the fact that there's still more hunts than Huntmasters. I'm concerned that the reason why we see not as many people in it is because the people that have come in have kind of evaluated that it's more fiddle than it's worth. And if there were more like, I want anybody who goes through all of the effort to come all the way here with the correct ship to run these sites to feel like they have gotten what they came here for, and not have the additional frustration of maybe not being able to find any sites.
Yeah, that's definitely a tricky balance to hit, because we're also trying to make sure that we're keeping a lid on exactly how much of some of these items were dropped into the game and how much money is coming in and stuff like that.
The more sites, the lower the drop rate has to be. The lower the drop rate is, the less rewarding the sites feel.
The fact that we had, even in the Color Losic area where you're seeing Huntmasters, that we also included the normal hunts, that was intended to try to help out with that a little bit, that you could maybe run around doing both. Obviously, though, the normal hunts, the value proposition of doing them in Losec is very, very different than Hunt.
It's also the fact that they consume the same key, and the keys are the most limited resource, not the sites necessarily. Yeah,
it feels like a value. Again?
We have W's.
Ash is in sight. Wait, what? Oh, shit.
Got it. I'm on my way.
Warping Insidious.
Insidious, what are you?
Did you polish that rat off just as you warped off, Ash?
Mm-hmm. Landing on Insidious.
I'm shooting the crewer at me in the.
Watch out. Some of them are neutral. The Atron isn't.
Was primary?
Atron is primary since we can shoot at it. Anything that you shoot on, watch out. You're going to get gate guns if you do. Oh no!
What?
iHub.
Alright, I'm going for the crew.
Courier's neutral.
Yeah. He's dying, is what he is.
I got a bounce. I have gate gun.
Are we killing anything else?
Atron
Kestrel?
went
Nah.
novice. Ah. Okay. Fine. I'll
Did
head
somebody
back.
get that crewer?
Yeah, Cura's down.
Awesome.
I gotta get off grid these gates. Gates are mad, man.
That Atron's gonna just jump. Damn it! So close. That Atron was in hull. Or not?
There's low hull too.
Wait, what? No! Fuck! I fucked that up so bad.
I'm heading back to the hunt site unless you can. I have tackle on.
Whatever, man. I'm going back to the Huntmasters site and finishing it. Is anybody still alive?
Yep, I'm still alive.
Good. I cannot believe I let that Atron get away a second time. Super greedy. Made a mistake. Cursus on the outside. I don't like fighting on the outside of gates, so I don't want to.
Well, if you tackle him, chase him in.
I just went in. I like from my days in faction warfare, I do not fight outside of gates if I can avoid it, because that's how you get like hyper blobbed.
Yeah, I understand. Or the Loki decloaks.
Yep. Whatever the daily definition of hyper blobbed is. No station games and no fighting outside of plexes. But it does mean that other people might get caught, which is unfortunate. Which is why I'm really glad that they made the plexus wider, which I actually like that more than
Here's Hateless.
Yeah. Glorification of the fit, mortification of the unfit. Hateless gaming is glorified. How's it going, buddy? We are hanging out with CCP, doing some Huntmaster sites in low sec. Hateless gaming. Did you guys check out his stream very much?
Yeah, check out his stream from time to time. Actually, I would say arguably most evenings I just, at some point or another, just open up Twitch and see who's on, and then just pick someone to watch and hang out with.
Well, I don't
think I paid Hateless a visit recently, though. I should remedy that.
Hateless is a great example of kind of flying in the face of a lot of the common logic that just gets thrown around casually by EVE players. You know, this is a guy who is spending energy and effort and ISK into just, you know, getting the absolute most. Like so he did a 90-day challenge where he tried to make as much money from burner missions as he possibly could. And he ended up making, I think, over 100 million. He made, or 100 billion. He made more than $1 billion a day for the 90-day challenge. But you know, he triple boxed, I think, Vargers for miners for a little while. Like, he just does crazy stuff. that involve large amounts of money, earning large amounts of money, losing large amounts. I like to say, if you want to learn how to make large amounts of money or ISK or lose it, both are good reasons to watch his stream. But I figure for you designers, especially with things like the resist nerfs and whatnot, Hayless is one of those guys that would be really important to keep an eye on.
So a lot of Hateless's builds used minimal resist mods. So his builds really weren't that hit very hard by this particular change. But the ammo change for any ship that he used that used the close range ammo actually got a buff. Similar to Dark Abyss sites. Sacrilege in particular, my Sacrilege, did not use any resist mods at all. So the entire sum total of the difference is that rage ammo is buffed.
And even though I am a diehard Logi bro, I appreciate any rebalance that makes things bloodier.
There was an argument posed to me, like someone was saying that the logic is counterintuitive, that they're trying to incite more brawling, make it more fun, but at the same time, doing all this HP stuff, and now it's harder to tank, so brawling is less fun, and now people are going to favor kiting, and people are just going to be kitey assholes. And my answer was, kiter's going to kite. Like, that's what they're going to do. If somebody's just looking for the W and they're not looking for a good fight or whatever, then fine, maybe they'll still kite. But people are going to brawl, and the ones that do it are going to enjoy it more.
Brawling has always been a results-oriented profession or way of fighting, and it just receives more results faster now.
Yes, one way or the other, or both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching DTM stream yesterday, and they were riding around Hecates and Vexes and Thoraxes, eating out, and then just like smashing things right in the face at point-blank range. It was awesome.
Oh man, DTM.
They have made their signature the polarized weapon.
Right. Yeah.
Literally, they've made it their signature. So they don't care at all about this resist change.
If you like damage controls or polarized before this patch, you had a wonderful patch. And DTM is a good example of, like, they have what's called the Ricardo fits, which are basically absolute 1000% all effort towards damage over tank. And this change really supports that theory.
Yep, they get some Ancil reppers, polarized weapons, go at it.
I think, wasn't polarized originally one of the things that you worked on in the early days, Fozzie?
I didn't work on them directly. I mean, all of the designers have give feedback and input and stuff like that. But
sure.
It was a different team that made that. But they were made as part of the Inferno module pass that hit an Inferno in the few patches after that, of these somewhat experimental modules, like the micro jump drive, like the reactive armor hardener, like the Ancil shield boosters.
Yeah, I was asking because, like, maybe not that one in particular, but I know that you've been part of a lot of experiments in the past, and quite often you add things in without them having a valid niche at the time that you put them in, knowing full well that they will potentially change in their nicheness over time without necessarily even changing what they are. So another good example is the reactive armor hardener, which was another good experiment, which also saw a really interesting highlight in this patch because the reactive armor hardener didn't get nerfed. So there, you really do see a more interesting give and take between the decision between damage control, energized adaptive nanomembrane, and reactive armor hardener. But I assume that wasn't fully fleshed out when reactive armor hardeners first were like just thrown in. I know that for about a year, before this last year, the year before that was a lot of like, we're just gonna like try crazy stuff. And right now you're also in a very experimental build time. How has it felt in the long run, now that you've been doing this for a while, to have experiments that you worked on in the before, maybe not necessarily work out in the moment, but then later kind of like its true purpose comes to be revealed? Do you feel like that's a common thing that happens?
It's something that's pretty common among sandbox games in general. What we would tend to do with some of those is we'd be okay with, we'd want to make sure that there's some use for them, but we'd be okay with that use being fairly niche. Again, knowing that the meta can change. The downside of it is you have to be careful with complexity, so you want to always be compensating by improving your UI and better explaining what's going on. Doing things like, if we could ever make that suggestion that was brought up earlier of having the fitting window show you exactly what modules can affect a certain stat. That's kind of stuff that helps compensate for having a lot of modules and chips. But when you have a lot of options in a sandbox game, you provide the opportunity for some of this emergent gameplay, right? This gameplay that seems logical in hindsight, but that nobody predicts. And that's the kind of thing that Eve is really well known for.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of like storytelling, right? Because I was actually talking to people about this with CCP Delegate Zero and some of the things that he said about storytelling and kind of lore and those sorts of things, because obviously I get asked about that a lot. But you know, one of the big questions is how much of all of this stuff that's going on, the great mystery, as it were, how much of it was pre-selected and how much of it is just like on the fly? And one of the things that's really interesting about good storytelling is that you build hooks without necessarily even knowing where it's going to go in the long run, and just later on, when it's time to do the next thing, you look at all of the things that you have available to you to figure out what you want to do, you know, which one of those hooks that you left behind or that somebody else left behind that you can play into. And I know Delegate Zero is talking about how the storytelling of Eve is similar to that. And I feel like the design of Eve is also somewhat similar to that, where it's like, I'm not sure where this is going to like really eventually find its place within the overall, you know, ecosystem of armor versus shield tanks, for example. But I just know that whatever the answer is, this needs to be in play for that to happen.
Polybolos ballistic controls.
I'm about to jump into Tescaline.
I'm on my way to you.
Polybolos is a perfect example of what you just described. I love that item so much.
Why don't you explain it real quick, Fonsui?
It has a well, it's a ballistic control system that was dropped from the Frostline event.
There is a single Huntmaster that is. Never mind, not open. I'm going to get it started. So I'm going to start the site in Tescaline. Go for it.
It's a ballistic control system that was dropped for the Frostline event, for the previous New Year's event, not the most recent one. And it has reduced damage and rate of fire compared to a Tech 2 or a faction ballistic control. But it also includes 8%, but it also includes 8% missile explosion velocity, which is extremely, extremely handy for application. There are cases when this matters quite a bit. For instance, Dark Abyss as your third ballistic control, where the 2 damage-related stats would be penalized because it's your third module. So that difference isn't quite as much, but the application stat doesn't appear on anything else and is unpenalized, and you get the full effect. So you actually get more damage out of this quote-unquote lower damage module.
And this is why I keep Fonsui around, because like there's a lot of depth to Eve, but it is often difficult to pull it apart in a way that is comprehensible. And Fonsui has this way of digesting the numbers, or at least help digesting the numbers in a way that goes from a set of random arbitrary rules to a system that we can digest and understand.
I try. I also just spend too much time in Python.
Well, one's the strategy and the other's the result.
Okay, that's fair.
I believe I have a giveaway going. No, I don't. The last one was given to Grendel, so I've got one more skin code to give away. Go ahead and restart it. I guess at least one more. At least one more. So exclamation point CCP for your chance to win a Hecate Caldari neon skin. And I'm actually going to use this as an opportunity. One of the things I really love about the Kali Neon skin is because I love, obviously I love the lore quite a bit. One of the things I really love about the lore is the kind of the shady nature of the Galente people, the fascist state masquerading as a democracy. And the story of the glittering streets of Kali and this skin, I feel really well represent that lore story. So it's one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite skins. But on the subject of lore and skins, you guys have been playing a lot more with that recently, which I really appreciate. Specifically, the Huntmaster sites, obviously the event sites have had a lot of lore tie-ins. The Mimosha chorus appearing in the during the Dragonar Blitz sites is definitely one of the most like, ooh, I feel like it was a reward that you had to have known what the hell was going on to even understand it, but it really was a payoff from, or part of a payoff from almost a year of build-up. And I'm interested to see where that's going more. Two things. Let's just start with how has the integration of lore into these events gone, do you think? Are we reading too much into the little pieces that are here and there? Are they just mostly there for fun, or should we get super tinfoily about some of this stuff?
Oh, I would never tell people not to get super tinfoily. They're right. God-given right.
I've had a peek at some things. The tinfoil is very often warranted.
Is very what?
The tinfoil is very often warranted.
Warranted.
So
okay.
Is definitely encouraged.
That's all I needed.
Now you're just goading us.
That's all I needed.
Yeah, as far as like the total incorporation of lore into the events, we think, I think there's probably more room to do even more in the future. But what we've generally done with these is have some chats between the team, my team working on them, and people like CCP Delegate Zero, have some conversations about what interesting things we can do for these sites, what sort of ways we can theme a site that hits the mechanical goals that we have, and then the actual authoring of like lore items and just flavor items. If it's got really deep lore, like if it's got a lot of callbacks, like some of the items that dropped in the Huntmaster, then that's generally means that it was made by Delegate Zero. If it's just kind of a silly new type of beer, then usually that's something I put together.
Right. So Delegate Zero really is stitching more of the mystery into everything. So keep your tinfoil close at hand. Got it. So specifically though about the hunt site, you said the lore drops in the hunt site, but the only like there's
sorry, I meant the Dragonar Blitz.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those were very like nailed on the head when it comes to. Yeah. But, well, the Valentine's Day event had some really good stuff when it comes that way too. But interestingly enough, there's an Atron on at least 5 AU and combat scanner probes. Cool. You want to talk a little bit about the DED informant?
Yeah. So that came from a bit of brainstorming we had with the team, thinking about what would be motivating the Gristas to have a event like this, and what ways they could put their own criminal flair on it, and then had some chats with some other lore guys. And so yeah, if anyone's running this event, you'll notice that when you blow up the mysterious capsules around, they have corpses inside them, in again fitting my love of corpse collecting. And it's the corpse of one of the DED informants that had formerly been embedded within the Gristas.
I think you went like 95% of the way there, and there's one missing. So 34 capsules destroyed from a fresh tune at 0 standing will put you at -10 with the Garistas. And you're killing these capsules that are ostensibly Garistas vessels, ostensibly Garistas agents, but sometimes there's a DED agent in there. Turning that DED agent in should give you some of that standing back.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that would have been good.
That would be fun.
You could even do that after the fact. like a big, massive turn-in. No, that's an interesting thing.
That penalty for killing the capsule is harsh.
Actually, you know what would be even more interesting, to be honest, is...
2 Coraxes, Atron.
I think this is where we fight, boys and girls.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
I think this is it.
Yeah.
This is where we go.
Dragon. Oh, that might be.
I'd like to thank Banex for that number of precisely 34 he measured.
Alright, we're going to get ready for the fight. We're going to kill this rat, which means the next wave is going to show up at right at the same time. Oh, the gate unlocked. Uh-oh. Here he comes.
Don't take the gate.
Corax is primary. Thrasher, then Atron. Good job. Atron. Good job.
Nice. Corax is pretty far out.
Yeah, the Corax was able to burn off. Let's not chase.
Well, you can take the gate now if you...
GFs and local? Oh. Oh man, that Corax is shooting me from all the way over there? Is that really happening? There's a succubus on scan?
Not on short.
Wow, he's hitting pretty hard, actually. Watch out, that Corax is actually hitting pretty reasonably. Wow. I may be in trouble. I'll make it work, though.
I may have to leave you here, Ash.
What's up?
Oh, just got some food I need to put inside my face. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying the other day.
We got a bit over what we planned on, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, this has been great. If you guys want to wrap things up, we got 2 good fights and a bunch of sites done and got a lot of good conversation. So I'm happy with starting to winding this down.
Yeah, it was excellent. Thank you very much for having us on.
Of course.
I for one more than appreciate your time. Thank you for being.
Thank you, CCP Aurora, for helping make this happen, and all of you guys for participating. It's as I said at the very beginning. It's always a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you, Fozzie. Don't be a stranger. And
thanks.
All of you guys are more than welcome anytime that my stream can be of service.
Awesome, dude. Thank you. Thank you for everyone who's watching. Had a good chat in Twitch as well.
Yep, I'm going to do the final giveaway as we're on our way out.
And all right, I'm going to wait. I'm going to hang around since I entered this one. I want to see if I win.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's do that. So, turn off my bursts. Warp off. All right, so we're going to pull one last time. Exclamation point CCP for the Hecate skin. We're going to pull in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. Insidious Sainthood. The special guest of our fleet. This is a good opportunity. Thank you so much for coming with us, Insidious, and having a good time. This is, of course, your territory. And you get the Hecate skin out of it, thanks to it. So.
Totally fair.
That's pretty fitting.
Thanks for having me, and yeah, thanks. I'm gonna go buy one and put polarized blaster.
Hell, yeah.
This is not the first time that Sid has come out here to help us enjoy this particular content, both by helping us and by
both as hunter and hunty.
Both help in the enjoyment.
Yep. So, once again, Black Rise, best place to be. CCP, best company to follow. And EVE Online, best game to play. Thank you all for coming.
Here.
Thanks for having us, Ash.